So I went on my second float experience at Neuro Fitness up in Southfield, Michigan. This float experience was unlike my first float experience, and it was absolutely crazy. I almost felt like I was tripping in a way. The first time I did a float, I was in the tank for about 60 minutes. This time I went for a 90-minute float session. So I had a lot of body awareness this time around. The first time when I did my float, I was thinking about stuff. Like I would think about one thought and then kind of let it process and then try my best not to think about anything else. But during this float process, it was absolutely incredible. It was so quiet and calming in the tank. And I was to this point, this really crazy point where like I would move my eyes back and forth in my head and up and down and sideways, and I could hear the movement and I could feel the movement of my eyes in my head. And for me, I started to get really emotional. Like I kind of like when I realized that, for me it was like a spiritual awakening. I was like, shit, Kelly, you are so busy throughout your life that and you always are so filled with stimulus. Even before you go to bed, you're so like there's so much noise or thought process going on in your head that you don't even pick up on the idea that you can hear your eyeballs move around in your head. As crazy as this sounds, I mean, it's an incredible thing to realize, because you start to realize just how inundated you are with all of the stimulus around you and all of the thoughts running through your head mindlessly all of the time. And it's a liberating thing to understand, like, crap, I need to slow down. I was really in tune with my breathing. Like I started to get into a real deep inhale and exhalation practice. And when I was doing it, it had a quality where I thought, man, like I'm really connected to the universe right now. I felt like with each inhale and exhale, it was like the ins and outs of the tide hitting a beach. And it sounded like it in my head to me. Keep in mind too that when you're in the float tank, you are using little earplugs, wax earplugs that fit really tight. So you can't hear stimulus and noise. So you're really in tune. You can hear the things going on in your body a lot more than you normally would be able to. Another thing is I was laying there, you're just floating. You don't even have to try. You're just floating on your back. And I'm just laying there, and I move my neck from side to side, and it felt reminiscent, or it sounded reminiscent of like the thunder building up before like a loud lightning burst. It sounded like that, and it's just like, man, like if I, in an everyday setting, if I could just removed all of the noise, all of the mind clutter and everything, is that, is that what it normally sounds like? And I'm just so used to my body, so used to being in this body and being around everything else that I don't pay attention to even the smallest of things. Like I said, it sounds trippy, but I mean, it's a whole new sense of awareness that I can't even describe to you. Another thing is when I was taking those deep breaths in and out, I could feel my diaphragm. I could feel it. Another thing too that was really super just crazy to me is my heartbeat. So I could hear and feel my heartbeat in my chest. I could feel it. And all it would take for me was to tune into it, to just pay attention, like to refocus on my heart, and I could feel it and I could hear it, to the point where like it felt like, well, I don't even need like a stethoscope. Like this is loud and clear. And if I had any concept of time in this little float machine, little doohickey, I could count the hearts or the beats of my heart. But I wanted to do that. I wanted to try to count and see how calm I was with my heartbeat, but I couldn't do it because you honestly, it's pitch black. You have no sense of time. You have no sense of light and darkness. Like, for instance, there were times where I would float off and like be thinking or paying attention to how I could feel my eyeballs rolling in my head, or my heartbeat, or my breathing, or any of those kinds of things. And I would think like, oh crap, like, are my eyes even open or are they closed right now? Because it's so dark in there, and you didn't even realize, like, I don't even know if this entire time my eyes have been open or closed. And it's surreal to have that kind of body awareness. Another thing is so, you know, you're floating in the tank and you're floating with your arms out to your side, and I'm just floating. You know, it's effortless. You know, you don't have to try. But I'm floating and I'm feeling like a little tension, a little, like, I thought it was like a gravitational force. Like, I felt like maybe the gravity was like forcing my neck down. So when that would happen, I'd move my arms up like this, and that would take some of the tension away. But then after a while, the gravitational force would hurt a little bit more. And so I would do this, and I would just float, and it took the pain away. And it was really cool. You know, there were times where I would just let my hair out and just let my hair circle around through it, and I could feel like it was like an extension of my body, like an antenna. It's a really crazy experience, and I probably sound like I am just shrooming right now, but I'm not. It's crazy. To be that in tune with your body is just absolutely surreal, and it's something I believe a lot of people need, because we are just inundated with stimulus all the time. I mean, you can't get away from hearing something penetrate your brain. You go in your car, the music's running. You go to a store, they have music. You go to a restaurant, and there's music. You walk into your house, and you're probably going to turn on the TV the first thing when you get in there. So you're always just stimulated. There's always ads and everything all over the place. And what I have found through doing flotation is that when I come out of that state, when I come out, I'm just like, man, I want nothing to do with that stuff. I just feel so calm and so body aware, and I feel a sense of peace all over me. And it almost feels like coming out of the womb again. You know, it just feels real. It feels right. I can't recommend doing it enough. It's absolutely, if I could do this every day, I absolutely would. I mean, I do this for the sense of peace and calmness, but I've heard of other people who have done this, and it's helped them to lucid dream or astral project, and essentially that is what I'm trying to work towards. But really, it helps me to get into a meditative state. It helps me to filter out all of just the jargon and all the crap running through my mind on a constant basis, especially being a business owner. So if you have a lot of stress, if you have a lot of anxiety, if you're looking for a spiritual connection, and you're looking to get closer with your oneness and to understand yourself a little bit more, and if you have a lot of anxiety and things weighing you down, I mean, the list could go on for all of the reasons why people should do this. But I truly feel that if more people did this, we wouldn't have so many a-holes. We're walking around and getting pissed at people for driving too slow or driving too fast, because it just really brings you back. It centers you, and it brings you back to where you need to be. So if you need something like that, which my guess is you probably do, you should definitely Google search and find a float tank near you and give it a shot.